Senator Ted Cruz, R-Tex, with President Trump on May 31st in Houston. Evan Vucci AP, by Jennifer Rubin Opinion writer September 2 at 12 p.m. President Trump, writing to the rescue of the underperforming campaign of Sen. Ted Cruz, R-Tex, tweeted on Friday, "I will be doing a major rally for Senator Ted Cruz in October. I am picking the biggest stadium in Texas we can find." According to World Atlas, Kyle Field at Texas A&M University sits 102,512. Darrell Royal Texas Memorial Stadium, where the University of Texas and Austin Longhorns football team plays, sits 100,119, but somehow crammed in 102,315 for a game in 2016. AT&T Stadium, home to the Dallas Cowboys, has a seating capacity of 80,000 but can be expanded to 100,000 when necessary. The maximum capacity of the stadium, including standing room, is 105,000. A record attendance of 108,713 was reached on February 14, 2010, during the 2010 NBA All-Star Game. So if Trump wants to keep his promise and show Texas is still deep red, he'll need to fill a stadium with 100,000 plus seats. If not, expect a lot of shots of empty seats or graphs comparing whatever small facility he manages to fill. He's very sensitive about crowd size, you know. That sort of mishap is only one of the problems that might afflict a Trump-Cruz rally. Trump might insult the recently deceased Senator John McCain, Arizona. However, in Texas, they consider POWs who underwent torture to be heroes. Trump might brag about his zero-tolerance policy. That might not sit well with Texans, who according to a June poll oppose the administration's separation of families at the border by an overwhelming margin. Overall, 28% of Texas voters support the practice, 16% strongly so, while 57% oppose it, 44% strongly so. Trump could thump his chest about rescinding the deferred action of childhood arrivals. Then again, a federal judge in Texas refused to allow the administration to suspend DACA. Moreover, past polling shows that about 60% of Texans support extending DACA. Trump's presence might give local media the excuse to run all those clips of Trump calling Cruz Lyin Ted, or of Cruz calling Trump a pathological liar. Trump also might let the cat out of the bag, telling voters that a new justice spread him. Kavanaugh would reverse Roe v. Wade. Because Cruz opposes abortions in the case of rape, Cruz's opponent Rep. Beto O'Rourke, D-Tex, would be able to remind voters that the Trump-Cruz formula would have pregnant rape victims driving hundreds of miles to obtain a legal abortion. In addition, Trump might tout his trade war. That's the problem in Texas. Tens of billions of dollars of goods are traded between China and Texas each year. Texas imported over $42 billion in goods from the country in 2017, second only to Mexico, the Texas Tribune reported in July. It exported about $16 billion in goods to China, placing it behind only Mexico and Canada. Moreover, cotton is the state's 10th largest export. Nearly half of the U.S. cotton exported to China comes from Texas. Soy is a smaller market for Texas, but China is the state's largest international soy customer. Texas exports about $157 million worth of corn a year, making it the 13th largest exporter of the crop in the country, though U.S. corn exports to China have dropped precipitously over the past few years due to increased regulations on the Chinese side. You get the idea. Trump could boast about denying federal workers a raise. However, according to the Labor Department, as of June 2017 there were 199,760 federal employees in the state. When they hear Trump boast about indexing capital gains, they might get really mad. As the Tax Policy Center pointed out, the 3% of returns with adjusted gross income over $200,000 reported 31% of AGI and 83% of capital gains, the 3% with AGI over $1 million reported 15% of AGI and 61% of capital gains. Cruz could then have to explain how he can be for the little guy. Finally, Trump might brag about wanting to repeal Obamacare and refusing to defend the protection for people with pre-existing conditions. It's estimated that 27% of Texans under 65, more than 4.5 million people, have pre-existing conditions. Good luck explaining that one. Don't underestimate Trump's ability to gin up the base. By the same token, his presence also amounts to waving a red flag in front of those outside his base who will be equally if not more fired up. And it just so happens that Trump's views on the issue I've noted above don't even pull support from a majority of Texans. Cruz may still win by virtue of the sheer number of Republicans in the state. It's nevertheless sort of remarkable that he needs to come crawling to Trump to help win what should be a slam dunk race.